Hello and welcome to a beautiful morning here in the Sabi Sands. Frederick the Fly and Scott behind the wheel would like to welcome you on the safari along with Brian Joubert, who is behind on camera. We are not too far from a leopardess's den site. We've zoned the den site so that we just give her a little bit of time to ease into her little new cubs that she's looking after, not put too much pressure on the situation. But what the plan is to skirt around the roads. There's three kind of roads that encompass where her den is, and we're just going to drive around there. Maybe we'll find some of her tracks heading away from the den, and that way we'll be able to follow her where there's no little cubs. So exciting times. If you are joining for the first time, it's great news. And the year that we've been here, maybe we should try and go for these, Brian. You can hear some birds flying above us. They are the hardy-dar ibis. There they go. That's responsible for the noise you can hear. They're scared of heights, and that is the reason why they make that call. Oh, look at those beautiful pink clouds they went past. Beautiful. What a morning. So that's the plan. We're going to be looking for a leopardess with newborn cubs. We're not planning on seeing the cubs, hopefully just the leopardess for now. But, as I said, very exciting prospects for the future, because hopefully we are going to get you some great views of what is no doubt going to be incredibly cute little cubs. It's 22 degrees, 71 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius. And I must congratulate Kat in Tampa. And I'd also like to congratulate Brent, because I think he's come up with a wonderful concept involving you guys and making some strange audio, because we often the ones making a fool of ourselves, and it's quite refreshing, to be honest. So I think it's a wonderful idea on Brent's behalf that you guys also make audio of various animals and post it on the Safari Live page, and that way we can work out who is the best at making the wild animals calls of Africa. Now, Kat in Tampa, your audio was incredible. It's so good that I think that it wasn't you, actually, and the reason why we cannot be certain that it's just because you did it in the dark. But I'm told that you can see a very faint outline, so maybe we'll let it slide. But half the fun is seeing the facial expressions when you make the noises, I guess. And seeing as the Kat in Tampa has got involved with Brent's master plan, I think so am I. I haven't made a hyena call yet, so here goes. Yours was so good, Kat. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's, I think, enough from me. Yours is really good, Kat. Brian, you can giggle all you like, but you're going to be next.
I've done it many times already.
You're right. And hello to Love 3 Dogs, who mentioned how much we love our jobs, and you know that. Because you obviously logged in a little bit early and caught us singing on the Jima Waterhole camera. And nice just to warm up the vocal cords early on in the morning. And Die, it's not the only song I know. I know Happy Birthday. So I know the Happy Birthday song quite well. Penny Pie, you also picked up that I'm singing a lullaby again. It's always a variation, though. That's important to remember, because I don't know the exact lyrics. You'll find that every time I sing it, it's slightly different. I actually freestyled Happy Hippo, and then a Happy Hippo, so I can freestyle with my lyrics, which therefore makes the song different every time. I may have just seen some tracks on the road here. Jump up quickly and check. Don't be alarmed by my new radio technology. It's obviously flawed because I cannot get one little clip out here. Oh no. It's stuck in here. That's a problem. So as you can see, it's a work in progress. This little button here that I'm trying to get out is required to be able to send. Oh no, I'm gonna have to give up with that. And then unplug this. That is so that I can talk to people without having to key the actual radio.
Morning, mobile station.
There's some fish eagles calling. Hope you heard that. It's a wonderful call of Africa, and they're usually not too vocal at this time of the year. They're most vocal in and around October, November. So I haven't heard that call for quite some time. Okay. The tracks that I saw were of a white-tailed mongoose. So you may have just been able to pick up that audio. A little bit far away. Morning, Tex. No updates yet. James is going to be doing a bushwalk, and I am checking Batalua in Yala Road to see if there's any sign of again. Apologies, I forgot to tell you guys what James was up to this morning. How could I have forgotten? So.
Morning, I think I'm going to head across to Triple M. Please do cross at some point.
Copy that, thanks, Jamil. Sounds good. Okay, exciting stuff. Jamie's heading out on tracking team. James is going to be doing a walk, and I'm sure a lot of you are looking forward to spending some time on foot again. It's always exciting. And it sounds like you're going to go and experience exactly what it's like to be on ground level with James right now. Enjoy.
3, 2, 1. Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the bushwalk. We've just come across an elephant actually. Beautiful sunrise coming up to the east, and there's an elephant just behind that clump of green bushes there. Now what I will do is show you which way the wind is blowing. There's very little breeze to speak of, but that there is in our favour. And what we're going to try and do, there's a termite mound over here. We're obviously not going to try and get close. We're going to try and view this elephant without him knowing that we're there. We don't have much cover until the termite mound, so we'll make a little detour around it and we'll try and get a view of him. Hello and welcome to the bushwalk. My name is James. On camera is Andrew Francis. As always, his head is completely camouflaged by his camouflaged hat. Please remember, you are live on the walk just like you're on the drive. And we do like to hear from you. Hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting like a grey-headed sparrow, or questions at wildearth.tv if you'd like to speak to us on the email. So here's the termite mound that we're going to use as cover. I can still see the elephant. Andrew, can you see it from there? You can just see him moving slowly that way. Let's go up onto the top of the mound. He's far enough away for us to stand on top of the termite mound. And there were some others that we saw. So it's very important that while we're focused on one animal like this, we keep scanning about the place, because you can find yourself suddenly in amongst a whole lot of others when you concentrate on just one. All right, here we go. Andrew, come over here. You can get quite a nice view of him from here. There he goes. So he's moving down into quite into a thicket there. Now, to keep up with an elephant that's moving is not easy, and we obviously don't want to harass him. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to the next termite mound there. There's a big apple leaf tree. Something has just given a herd of impala and some guinea fowl a big fright. I suspect they may have frightened each other. They scattered very quickly. All right, let's move quickly. I can still see the elephant. We're just going to move slowly towards the termite mound here and see if we can't get another view. Wind is still good for us. He's moving along he's moving along, I suspect, because of that herd that was around, and I wonder if because he keeps sort of stopping and smelling the ground, and then he starts moving quite fast. So we're just going to move up to this little termite mound here, see if we can get another view. He did move down through the thick bush there. There, I can see him going now. He's just moved into the thick stuff there. There he is. You see him going there, Andrew? And he's got that kind of loping walk going. And when elephants start to move like that, it's very difficult to keep up with them. Well, and not irritate them at the same time. Now, I think we're probably going to leave him for now. We will walk gently down through here, see if we can't get another view, but I'm not convinced that, with them moving at that speed, we're not going to get a decent view of him. Anyway, wonderful start to our morning. There were some impala, like I say, over there, some guinea fowl behind us there, a stunning sunrise to my left-hand side, to the east, that Andrew is now silhouetting me against, which is rather lovely. And X-Ranger, you say that the sunrise made you want to bring out the watercolors. Well, I think that's an excellent idea. Painting. I mean, I certainly wouldn't try my hand at it. My painting and drawing skills are like those of a 3-year-old child. There's nothing there. Now, Eric, a very valid question. As we look here at some elephant dung, this is much older than the elephant we've just seen. I don't mean it's older actually physically, but it's certainly older than when he walked past here. Eric, you want to know how well an elephant is able to see. Eric, I think that an elephant, for a long time you used to read things that elephants had bad eyesight. I think elephants see probably about as well as we do. And so I don't think it's their major sense. I think they use their trunks and their sense of smell a lot more. They obviously hear extremely well, but I think that their eyesight is certainly not bad. I would say it's much better than that of a rhino, for example. What's your aerial, Andrew, there? Yeah, he's gone off into this thick stuff here. We might meander slowly that way and see if we can't get another view of him, but I don't think we're going to get too close now with him walking at the speed that he was. What I do want to show you here, though, is just some of these scraggly trees around here. We're in a clearing, and we're just sort of west of quarantine clearings, but you can see how these silver cluster leaf trees, sorry, let's go and have a quick look at one of them here. These silver cluster leaf trees have come up out of the clearing, and in fact, I mean, if were this place to be left alone completely, I suspect that it would no longer be a clearing for very long. And one of the things about a drought, and I've said this before, but it's a little easier when you're explaining it at ground level, of course, is that a tree has a taproot system, and that means that it's able to access water that's far deeper than something like grass is able to. So if I pull out one of the last remaining grass plants, which is not very nice of me, but for educational purposes, you know, you can see the adventitious root system there. So there's no taproot. Those roots operate mainly on the surface of the water. So they're very good and very effective competitors for water when there is surface water, i.e. when there is rain. When there isn't rain, they're going to struggle to find moisture, whereas a tree like this has a taproot and it can send it down much deeper. Now what that means is when there is a drought like we have at the moment, the grass plants become outcompeted by the tree saplings and by the seedlings, and they then of course take over, and we get this phenomenon of what we call bush encroachment. That's one of the reasons you might get bush encroachment. Overgrazing would be another, but certainly a dry or drought season would favor the formation of woody plants and thicker areas. So that's just one of the interesting things that's going on here. I'm not sure if Djuma will maintain this clearing or not. I know that it is maintained quite often. So by maintain, I mean they might come along and take out a few of these seedlings, and that will just help to keep this area clear. That has a whole lot of interesting discussion about it, but we'll have that at another time. So Ava, you say you're a bit nervous when we're on foot. Ava, there are two elements to that are important for you to understand. It's not a bad thing to be slightly nervous when you're on foot, because it just makes you aware. It's not a good thing to be scared. We are very aware of what's going on around us. We are checking consistently around here. And when I'm walking, we're normally with Steph, and Steph is running security detail. So while I am talking to you, Steph is actually just behind us there. And what he does is, while I'm presenting to you, he's scanning the area, and he's actually just seen the elephant over there. Now the point of that is that while I'm very happy to walk on my own in the bush, while I'm presenting, obviously my eyes and ears are not always on the bush. And so it's really nice to have Steph here with us, and so that's what Steph's doing. And the other thing, Michael, you say you want to know how close to an elephant I've been on foot. In camp, I've been very close, to within about 2 meters. I think you can see him moving there. Andrew, have you got him there?
Yeah, I got him.
Well done. And Michael, so within 2 meters in camp, but around in the bush, not. I tend to avoid trying to get too close to elephants. Certainly I've been very close to rhino at various times, but often that's, it's more for training purposes. I wouldn't try and approach an animal closely with guests, and nor would I do it if we were presenting like this. Shall we carry on slowly down, see if we can't get another view? It does get very thick in there, I'm afraid. The wind, you can see, is still pretty good for us. Not much of a breeze to speak of. Now, just as we come to the edge of this thicket here, Mark Tilbury, you want to know if this drought is unusual. Mark, it's not unusual because we tend to go in cycles here. They say about a 7-year cycle. I'm not convinced it's that regular. But it's not unusual. Africa especially, the concept of an average rainfall is almost ridiculous, because it's so variable all the time. So it's not unusual to have a very dry year like this. We have had quite a few years of very good rain leading up until this point, and so that's why it feels like it's a little bit unusual. Right, let's head across to Scott, see what he's doing. I'm just going to fossick about in this thicket for a little while, see if we can't get another view of that elephant, but I suspect he's going to be moving too far away from us. We'll see you in just a little while.
Well, isn't that exciting stuff, being on foot with James, an elephant bull in the crosshairs? And I love the way that while an elephant bull can be nearby to you on the bushwalk, he can stop and also take notes of the smaller things, looking at all the fresh shoots, trying to fight their way through this drought. Now, we have not found any sign of Karula, the leopard that we are looking for, but it's still early days. There's a lot of hyena tracks heading back down this road, back towards where the hyena den is, and we haven't been there for a while, so maybe we'll pop in there a little bit later if we don't have any luck with the leopard tracks. And Kat in Tampa, we believe you, of course, but I think going forward we'd like to see a little bit of mouth facial movements to make sure that it is in fact you that is making the audio, especially when you're as good as Kat is, because that was some really, really well executed hyena howls. don't worry, you don't have to do another one, Kat. Now, a lot of you, I'm told, on the topic of the leopards that we're looking for and her cubs, a lot of you are interested in what we may be thinking about naming the cubs. And usually, how it works in the safari industry is that a leopard cub will only be named once it reaches a year of age. And there's very, very good reason for that, and that is that the mortality rate of these young cubs is so high. And to name an animal and become that much more associated with it and connected to it is a bit of a recipe for disaster, because more often than not, they don't make it to a year of age. So rather than wasting up good names on young leopard cubs, you tend to wait for a year before you name them. Now, with what we do, it's slightly different, because you, unlike most guests on safari, are with us day in and day out, whereas most guests will leave, and therefore they don't need to know that if it's got a name. It's just a leopard cub that they're usually happy to look at. With us, like I said, it's different, because we do get to know them better, and we do spend more time with them than normal, and therefore to keep saying Karula's cub and Karula's female cub and Karula's male cub, depending on what the cub or cubs may be, becomes a little bit tedious. So we may well name them earlier than normal, but I'm guessing that would probably only be around at 6 months of age as a guess. You know, we haven't been through that yet since I've been with WildEarth. I'm not sure what they did in the past, but I think it's something that we will jointly as a team discuss and decide upon, and then let you know. But for now, I don't think there's going to be any naming of cubs, at least until we know how many there are, and definitely not for the first few weeks or months of their life. So feel free to come up with your own thoughts and names for when they do eventually get named, but I don't think we're going to be adopting any names for the time being. Another thing on this topic is, if in fact we do name it earlier than a year, which we in all likelihood will, I'm guessing. We did the same thing with Sindila, a young male leopard, and when his name was changed by the guides in the area, we adopted the new official name that everyone in the area was happy with. This wasn't a good example, because that name then was changed for some reason. It got complicated. Anyway, we'll deal with the naming of the leopard cubs a little bit later on, so you can hold off your thoughts and questions on that topic for the time being. Hi there, James Francis, and still on the topic of the leopard and her cubs in the den, you're interested to know how much longer is the den going to be off limits. And James, at this stage, we don't know. We're going to be having some meetings today with the guides and discussing some possible plans. And like I said the other day, there's many different ways that one can cook an egg, and this is no different, and different people will have different theories as to what is right and what is wrong. But what will happen inevitably is that all of us on the ground will communicate and discuss what we think is a good plan going forward, and then we'll put that forward to higher powers, the owners of this land, and see if they're happy with our proposed plan, and we'll take it from there. So let's just wait and see. Of course, we want to, try and get as many views of these little cubs as possible, but in the same breath, we do not want to in any way contribute to that den being discovered by other animals, or any pressure being put on Karula so that she feels compelled to move the den. But like I say, we will be having some meetings, and we will keep you updated as soon as we have some clarity on the matter. There's just so many variables: the site of the den, the leopard that is being looked at, which in this case is Karula, one that we know well. So we're going to factor in all these different variables into the equation, discuss the plan with the guides, and we'll be sure to let you know what's going to happen. Sabrina, just 12 years years old, and it's great to have you with us. Sabrina is wondering, when would it be a kind of likely age to start seeing the cubs outside of the den, seeing them moving around a little bit more? And usually from about 2 weeks of age, you may start seeing them move around a little bit more. They're still going to be tiny little clumsy furballs then though, but from that age you may start getting lucky seeing them moving around a little bit more. At the moment, sure, I mean, they look tiny, probably maybe this big, judging from the little video that Andrew and Brent got of them. It wasn't easy to see. They were quite far away, but it looked absolutely tiny and looked like it didn't have much control of its body. So for the first kind of 2 weeks, you're not going to see too much of them, but thereafter they get to know how to work their body and you get to see them stumbling around a little bit more. You can hear some birds calling, and it's quite fortunate they are sitting up beautifully in this acacia tree. Oh, here they go. Awesome. Flyby. Calling as they go. Magical stuff. Wasn't an easy one for Brian. They ambushed him and he had to move at a very, very awkward angle to try and pivot that camera around. But that's what they were. They were southern grey hornbills. Happy that we got to not only hear them but see them and get a glimpse of them flying around. Morning, Mike, in Florida, and it is a beautiful morning, and hopefully we'll be able to get you another bird for your bird list. For those of you who don't know, Mike, he's got 224 birds on his list. I think the most out of anybody that joins us on safari. And he's hoping for 225 today. Perfect birding conditions. So maybe, just maybe, Mike, we'll get it. Maybe that violet-eared waxbill will grace us with its presence. Hope all is well in Florida, Mike. Not the easiest road, this one, to check for tracks. Quite hard. This is one of the most bizarre things I've heard, and thank you, Phil Marlowe, for letting us know that you're having nightmares about the deadly oxpecker bird, and you're concerned that they may sometimes decide to land on humans and keep open our festering wounds that we may have. Don't worry, that's highly unlikely. I've never heard of an oxpecker going anywhere near a human, so fear not. It would be highly unlikely that one did land on you and start gleaning you for ectoparasites. If it did, you'd need to think about having a bath, probably, getting all those parasites off you. But as long as you stay clean, an oxpecker is going to have no reason to be on you. So fear not, like I said. I'll fix my radio contraption so now I can get out of the vehicle with a little bit more ease. There we go. And I found a new decoration, a beautiful feather. I'm not too sure what bird this comes from. Possibly a nightjar, maybe, but so hard to be certain. Anyway, quite a nice one, good enough to go into my headrest, just like the other day. Perfect. How's that look, Bebop? Good positioning. There we go. Wunderbar. Wow. We were lucky to find this little feather on drive. Less less close to the ground than James was on the bushwalk, and his proximity to the Earth's crust has helped him to find an interesting little insect for you. Enjoy.
Everybody, it was going to be a fairly quick sighting, this one, because Andrew is being savaged by flies, as am I. For some reason we are very attractive to the flies today, and our security detail is unable to protect us from them. What you're looking at there is a flea beetle, and the flea beetles I've shown you before, and perhaps for our new viewers you haven't seen them. A flea beetle likes to live on this bush called Rus Gwenzii, and it picks up toxins from the tree, and it's the most interesting thing about, well, there are two very interesting things about the flea beetle. The one, can you see it, Andrew? There's one, he's here, he's this side. I'm going to try and capture him for you, but of course, because he is a flea beetle, he's quite difficult to catch. Andrew, stop complaining about the flies, man. Stop kicking the bush. Right, I think I have the beetle with me. I think he may have dropped off. Now, the interesting thing about the flea beetle is that his larvae is very toxic, it's very poisonous, and you can put it on an arrow if you happen to be a bushman living out here and you wish to catch yourself some dinner. You can put it on the arrow of your bow and arrow, and what that will do is poison the arrow tip, and then you can have yourself some dinner. Now, the other thing, it's called a flea beetle because it is a jumping beetle, and it jumps with the aid of two very powerful femurs. Now, Andrew, I don't know if you can see there, just in the light there, it's got two enormous back legs, and those back legs are very powerful for jumping, just like a flea can jump. Now, the front end is to the left-hand side of your picture, and the back end is to the right, and you should see it on the right-hand side. At the top there, you can see him walking. You can see enormous femurs there that he's got. See that? Isn't that amazing? Look at him walking. And if he jumps, he will disappear almost. He's got a chunky thigh, as Nikki says. Yes, that's his femur. Thank you, Nicola. Chunky thigh is possibly a better description. Oh, there he goes. He's flown away. I'm not sure if you can see the cloud of flies around me at the moment. Perhaps on my legs you can see them. They are, of course, enormous legs, and what these flies are doing is supping on any little bit of salt that they can get, and you'll notice the picture jumping every so often. It's jumping because Andrew is being bitten by these beastly things. Anyway, let's just keep walking, try and get them out of our way a little. Now, one of the most important things that you hear in the bush is an oxpecker, and I believe that Scott was just trying to help you or dissuade one of you who's having a nightmare about oxpeckers eating away at a wound that you might have. Phil, fear not, these oxpeckers are not coming to us, but they're very important to listen out for the sound of the oxpecker in the bush when you're on foot, because they will be looking for antelope or buffalo or rhino to go and sit on and eat the ticks from. So we always watch out for oxpeckers, and we always listen to where they're going. Right, on we go. Hello, Kathy. You want to know what my favourite part of the bushwalk is? Kathy, I think it's always wonderful to see something like an elephant on foot, because you've got to be so much more careful, you've got to be so much more aware of whether they're aware of you or not. So, I mean, I'm constantly looking in here. This is the thicket into which the elephant did go, but he was moving at quite a speed, so we stopped following him. So that kind of thing is really just kind of, it touches something quite deep inside, and I love that. The other thing, though, is to discover the small stuff that we don't normally see on drive. So like that flea beetle, and that's why I quite like having Steph along the security detail, because you discover he's got very sharp eyes, you see, and quite a sharp brain too. And both are very useful for learning different little things about the bush, finding little caterpillars and scorpions and various other kinds of insects. So I really enjoy that part of the learning experience that is being on foot in the wild, that you just can't get in the vehicle, because the vehicles, of course, make a big noise and you just don't get that quite as intimate a feel. But at the same time, with the vehicle, you can park in the middle of a pride of lions and they don't react to you, which you can't really do on foot. Thank you, Kathy. We're just going to pop up to this tree over here. Hello, Zoe. You want to know about how you become a field guide or a park ranger, and they're two very different things, and I think you probably realize that. When I started this job, we used to be described as rangers, but essentially I'm not a ranger. What I am is a field guide. You're correct. A ranger would be somebody who looks after the land. I have done that job, but it's largely been guiding, and so they're two completely different ways of qualifying. To be a guide is to be a people's person, is to learn how to present information, so you need to gather quite a lot of information. In South Africa there are various courses that you can do to do that. You don't need a degree to do it. And then if you want to be a park ranger, it is definitely very helpful to have some kind of biological degree or background, which then helps you to understand the grasses and the trees and the interactions of the different parts of the ecology. But being a guide is essentially, there are a few courses that you can do around South Africa, but then it's time. It's time doing it, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and only very few people have the personality, and I'm not one of them, to guide guests full time as a career. It becomes a very difficult thing to do, simply because you get lots of people out all the time, you're meeting new people all the time, so you need to be quite extroverted in order to be a really good field guide as a career. Right, let's have a look at this tree here. And I'm laughing because Steph was trying to stay out of the way and now he's had to dive down off the back of the mound. This is a dead weeping boerbean tree, or Scotia brachypetala, and they often grow on termite mounds, because the nutrients on termite mounds, of course, are much better than they would be in the normal part of the bush, or the normal part of the bush. And they are also, he's a very good cameraman, this fellow Andrew, when you can get him out of bed in the mornings. And the other reason that a termite mound is a good place for a tree is that the soil is very well aerated, because of the little tunnels and things that the termites make. And this termite mound, people often ask, is the termite mound inactive when there's a tree on it? And the answer here, of course, is no. It certainly isn't inactive. This one, you can see, is active from, oh, here's a termite. There are a whole lot of termites, actually. And this is the fungus-growing termite. I'll just see if I can, there we go. You see one there, Andrew? They keep coming out and then going back in again. But the smell that comes off a termite mound, I just love. It's a little bit like that petrichor smell that you get when rain falls upon the land. And there's a very similar, you've got a termite there.
I had one, but he keeps going in and out.
He keeps disappearing inside. I'll try. The top of the hole, Nikki says she saw one.
Yeah, but it went back in.
Ah, but it went back in, Nikki. Okay, there we go. There we go, Andrew. Right, so there's a soldier termite, and he's glistening in the sun. He's very cross, of course, now, because he thinks that he's being attacked by this grass stalk. He's very irritated. There, he's gone back inside his home, and there's another one there. Anyway, the smell, like I said, is sort of a sweet version of that petrichor smell, and it just smells like healthy earth to me. When you put your nose over one of these tunnels where Andrew's filming now,
Misting up the lens.
it's misting up the lens. Look at that. So there's quite a lot of vapor and steam coming out of there, and I can see it's misted there. It's clearing for you now. And certainly in the winter time, it's a wonderful thing to come and stand over these things and warm your hands. But in the summertime, and I mean, I can feel the heat beating now already, and it's only probably just after 6 o'clock in the morning. And these tunnels will be closed off like this, and that will insulate them inside from the blinding heat of the summer here. They do tend to be very cleverly insulated, these termite mounds. Sorry, they will also open shafts to allow for airflow during hot days, but they'll close off those that are going to be exposed to the sun. Right, let's press on a little bit from here. Ooh, now this is very fresh. Now this we will need to be very careful of. This is buffalo dung. Andrew, you just beat me in the head with your aerial.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'll get over it eventually. So this is a very fresh pile of of buffalo dung. And not quite steaming, so probably from early in the morning. It's very moist. It smells, and it doesn't have that kind of a hard bit. There's a bit of mucus around it, but it doesn't have that hard shell that immediately forms when it's in the sun. Isn't that lovely, Andrew? Look at that. Eh? This is prime buffalo dung. Really delicious stuff. Macerated. Right. That's just pretty disgusting, really. Let's carry on. We're going to be a little bit more careful as to what's going on. So here's a track of the buffalo. So
Sorry again.
Sorry everybody, Andrew's hit me on the head with his aerial.
Right.
I have to lie down for a little while. There you can see the buffalo track there. Ex-Ranger, you want to know about burning and those shrubs that we looked at, and I said they might try and clear them out a bit. Burning is not an option for clearing bush in this part of the world. The heat from fires is developed purely from the amount of grass that there is. The grass load provides the heat. The trees won't burn, and just about all the trees out here are very well adapted to surviving fire. And while there might be a bit of top kill, they would just start to coppice from the base. So no, fire would be a very ineffective method of trying to clear those little seedlings from there. Right. Did you show them the buffalo track, Andrew? Right, okay, I'm going to stay away from you now because you're clearly very upset with me for some reason. I couldn't imagine why. Yes, this is exactly why we need Steph on bushwalk, because Andrew keeps knocking me out. So we're going to be very careful around here. And while we're walking along, let's go across to Scott and see what he has to show you. He's at Treehouse Dust Bowl. See you shortly.
So, some funny moments there with Andrew and James on the bushwalk. I'm sad I missed out on that. As you've heard, we are just driving past the Treehouse Dust Bowl. That little patch of earth used to be filled with water, fish, sometimes hippos, but now nothing. And for those of you who are new, the reason why it is called the Treehouse Waterhole is due to the fact that there used to be a treehouse in this tree. We've threatened that we are going to resurrect it, but just haven't got around to doing it. But you can see a few poles there, the meager remains of what used to be a treehouse. I never saw it in its full glory, sadly. It'll be interesting to know what exactly it looked like, and who knows, maybe once it's cooled down a little bit in between the drives, we'll be able to do some work on it. But at the moment, it is just so hot that being out in between drives is not really going to be much fun. There are hyena tracks everywhere. On every road that we've driven, there have been fresh hyena tracks. Who knows why they've been covering so much ground, or maybe it's just through default that wherever we've gone, we've found hyena tracks. There are animals, though, that move huge distances, but it just can't help but worry for Karula and those cubs with all the hyena activity. They will make short work of those cubs if they find them. Hi there, Tom and Dallas, and you've posed an interesting question on the topic of hyena. And you've said that, you know, if a pride of lion make a kill, they'll feed on their kill for a few days, depending on how big it is. Leopards will be similar. This is an awesome bird. You don't see them often. And it's called a white-headed vulture. And this is the best view that I've ever got of one. Go ahead, Jamie. Looks like it's about to go for a toilet break.
Around the power lines junction. If we want to send Scott to come stand by here, we're just going to wait on Triple M.
Copy, awesome. I will be rushing over there now, thank you. Okay, as much as I love this bird, I prefer... Confirm they have just crossed. One more quick close-up view. There's a report of wild dogs coming onto the property.
Towards the power lines.
And you may think it looks like a hooded vulture, but its beak is much bigger. It's not as needle-like and thin, and its body is also much bigger. Copy that. Thank you very much, Jamie. I'll be racing along there. I'm just on Savage's track now. I'm going to get on to Triple M from Gari, Maine. And now that we look at it flying off, you would have seen a lot of white on its underbelly. It's also a huge bird. It's the second largest of the vultures, second to the lappet-faced. Okay, we are in luck. It's time to go hunting for wild dogs. Hold on tight, everybody. Woohoo! We're going to send you back to James quickly, and we will see you shortly.
Right, well, we thought that those tracks were pretty fresh, and indeed they are. There is a buffalo bull, and he's lying in the shade already. He told me as we walked up to him that he was very upset that the sun had got this hot this fast, and so he's already lying in the shade, as he might do during the heat of the day. Now, that's not unusual for the summertime, of course. Often during the summer months, they will move around at night and they become almost nocturnal in order to avoid the heat of the day. And that's certainly the case for a lot of the herds. So that is the buffalo, I suspect, that made that excellent patty that we were mixing around in just before I saw you last. And we're certainly not going to approach him any closer. Now, people will tell you, of course, that a buffalo bull is the most dangerous animal you could ever see in the bush. And look how dangerous he is, Andrew. Can you see that? Do you feel a great deal of fear coursing through your veins?
Well, no, I don't.
Now, the point of that, of course, is that cuckoo. There was a cuckoo flying over the top. So the point of that is that he's not threatened by us. I'm not convinced he knows that we're here, actually. He's obviously facing away, and he doesn't seem to have smelled. He can't smell us. The wind is good for us. And he also can't see us. At least he seems not to be able to hear us for some reason. But the point is that I don't think he's actually, he wouldn't feel cornered, and were he to become aware of us, I suspect he'd just move off. And that's why where we're standing now is not necessarily a dangerous place for us to be. We're very aware, of course. And you can see he's got a magnificent pair of horns. And Fanny, you're in Texas and you want to know if they ever break their horns off when they're having a fight. Yes, they can, especially when they get older. The horns become a bit more brittle, and they can indeed knock one or two off. And they don't grow back, Fanny, of course, because it's part of the skull. So they don't grow back if they break off. They're completely unlike the antlers on any of the deer that you get in North America. Lovely to see that cuckoo. They'll be thinking about going back overseas fairly soon. Now, Ava, a very good question. You want to know whether oxpeckers sit on lions and leopards. Ava, they don't sit on lions and leopards, mainly because I think lions and leopards would eat the oxpeckers. They seem to know quite carefully what animals will tolerate them and what won't. So elephants are the great mystery. Why don't oxpeckers sit on elephants? And it would seem that elephants simply don't tolerate them. I think also elephants, because of their thick skins, carry a slightly lower external parasite load than do some of the other animals out here. But no, lions and leopards, they're so flexible and they clean themselves so fastidiously that I think you'll find that A, there isn't a point, and B, they would probably eat the oxpeckers. So he's just lying there chewing the cud after his evening of grazing. He's flicking his ears from side to side, trying to get rid of the flies. Andrew seems to be a bit better fly-wise at the moment. That's why the picture is totally steady at the moment. But the flies will be all around that buffalo for most of the day, and he'll just flick his ears at them continuously. There's only one there, hey? Yeah, just one buffalo bull. Ooh, hang on. There's something else behind it, Andrew. I don't know if you can see, just straight over the top of his head. There's some movement there in the bush beyond. You see that? Let's let's go a little bit to the left-hand side. While we do that, Laura, you're in Alabama. You want to know what we do. You've seen us view an elephant now. There's another buffalo. You've seen us view an elephant now, and you've seen us view some buffalo on foot. You want to know what would happen if we saw a lion. Lions, contrary to sort of your expectation, are actually normally pretty nervous on foot. So they will often run away from us, normally run away from us when we see them on foot, and they might sort of growl a bit. There's also some impala, Andrew. There's lots around here. Look at that. A whole herd of impala going towards the buffalo. So lions would normally get up and run away. They might growl, they might go bow, and then run away. That's the most likely reaction. Laura, sometimes they can charge, but if you stand still, they will normally back off eventually. It's very seldom, and certainly when we're walking out here, the fear of lions is one of the, that's one of the last things we're worried about. We're much more nervous of surprising a buffalo, cornering a buffalo, because a buffalo can get surprised quite easily. Much more nervous of surprising an elephant than we would be a lion. A lion would normally get up and go away quite quickly, and they'd probably hear us long before anything else would. Right, I think what we're going to do now, I'm just going to check the wind. Yeah, I think what we're going to do, the wind is blowing sort of from the sun to where the sun will have mercifully set later today. If we go around that way, we're likely to make the buffalo smell us. So what we're going to do is just ease our way through here and try and make our way around that way. We thought we heard maybe some elephants down that side, and so that's what we're going to do now. So let's head back to Scott to find out an update on those dogs. That sounds really exciting. We'll head across to him, and I'm going in here now. See you just now.
So we've got into the general area that this pack of wild dogs are moving in, but it's a slightly complicated situation. Basically, there's 3 vehicles with them at the moment, so there's no space for us, and because it's between 2 bordering traverse areas, controlling the amount of vehicles in that sighting is difficult because 2 different groups essentially are wanting to gain access to those animals. So rather than us rushing in and creating further congestion and chaos, we are waiting on a boundary. So our boundary is very close to us, in the hope that they come onto our property, leaving all those other vehicles behind and leaving us to enjoy the sighting with these animals. And they do move very quickly, they do move huge distances, and there's a strong chance that they could continue east towards us. Just crossing fingers, Jamie is kind of lurking a little bit beyond the action, but keeping an eye on the dogs so that if they do come across, we'll get a good idea of where, and it'll be somewhere in this open area where we could get lucky. So that's the update. Still exciting prospects, but no need to break the speed limit anymore. That's such an exciting prospects, David Limbu, as you haven't seen wild dogs yet on these live safaris. So let's hope that they do come across. They are the most exciting animals to follow. So what I must recommend, Dave, is that you hold on tight, because we may need to drive around like maniacs to keep up with them. Oh no, I lost my feather, but everything happens for a reason. It's definitely going to be worth it if we find these wild dogs. Hello to Michael Fleetwood. You'd like to know if any wild dog studies are done here on Djuma, and not on Djuma itself, but we are encompassed by one person really, a guy called Grant.
Just come out here.
I'm just crossing north over the Paarl as well. So yes, there is a guy called Grant. Sorry, that sounds like the wild dogs have come across. Who does keep track of all the wild dogs in this whole kind of area, the whole of the Kruger National Park. So he keeps track of each individual pack, keeps ID kits on them, keeps track of their movements, and I guess we are assisting him in his research because we're providing him with information as to when and where we find the various packs. And he's the guy who provided us with information saying that there are about 260 adult wild dogs. Here they are, David Limbu, you're in luck. There's a glimpse of one at least, two, and they move huge distances. There's some more coming, Brian, just to let you know. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Brent.
We're going to go back to Triple M in case they cry.
Sounds good. Okay. We need to keep moving. They're heading back towards the boundary, sadly, which is just up ahead of us. Brent and Jamie, awesome that they've helped us so hugely this morning by being in the right place. And this is a pack called the Sands Pack, as far as I'm aware. It's got about 10 adults and I think 11 little pups. Well, they're not so little anymore. Stations in the Dutch heading back towards Paarl and Triple M Junction.
I just see my name about it. Thanks, got here and check them, yeah.
Okay, so just updating the guys to our west about what's going on. The more we help them, the more they're going to help us. Oh, it is very thick here, Brian. You may get a few glimpses of them through here to the right. There's one coming back towards us. Awesome. And you get an idea of just how active they are now. They are incredibly difficult to keep up with, especially in thick bush. But that's what makes it so exciting, being on the trail with wild dog. Isn't this awesome? On top of this, the general excitement, they are incredibly successful hunters, the most successful of the large African carnivores. So it would not be unlikely if we get to see a kill being made. We might not be there for the takedown, but we'll be there for them finishing off the scraps. As you can see how quickly they move, it's difficult to be there for the actual takedown. Varietas, you do not need to worry about James on foot. The wild dogs are of no danger to us humans, and they will run off before trying to attack us in any way. Possibly in captivity, that's a little bit different. And Jamie is just making space for us. Thanks, guys. Well done. And what we're going to do is, because it is a complicated scenario, like I say, with quite a few vehicles here already, we're just going to hang back a little bit. There's already 3 vehicles, but I don't think there's any major threats around. We don't know of any lying around, so I don't think it's going to impact negatively by us lurking behind these 3 vehicles. And all 3 of these vehicles do not have access onto Djuma, so it's kind of fair that we stay here in case they do in fact continue across onto our property. Now, I can't see the entire pack. Doug, thank you very much. Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So, it sounds like these could be the adults maybe, or the pups. I'm not sure. Doug offered kindly there to go and look for the rest of the pack. So that means that these are possibly, it looks like, possibly some younger ones, but they are getting difficult to distinguish between the adults and the pups at the moment. This one's got a very distinctive little notch in its ear, but we haven't seen them as much as we would like to, and that's why, for me at least, it's very difficult to tell who's who. Morning, Dave, how are you doing? Good, thanks. And sadly, for us now, they are heading back west, so we're probably going to leave them to it for now, but they could well turn around and come back onto Juma again. And we must just be grateful that we've at least got a glimpse of them. David Limbu got his first view ever of wild dogs on these live safaris. And I'm sure you've got a big smile on your face. Thanks, dog. I can smell them now, actually. It's remarkable how pungent these animals are. They smell like a wet, sweaty horse goat blanket. Is what I think they smell like. And this is going to be a good opportunity for us to maybe show you some of their tracks on the ground. And Eric, Asat, don't know your name, and good to hear you sending some questions through. You'd like to know if wild dog are rare, and yes, they certainly are. They're endangered, and there's only about 260 adults in the ginormous Kruger National Park, which we are a part of. So they are highly endangered, and my personal thoughts as to why they are endangered is more because of rabies, canine-borne rabies, which will wipe out whole packs at a time, because they are such highly social animals with lots of kissing and licking of one another. The rabies spreads very quickly. Just trying to find some nice tracks for you. So yes, the rabies causes their numbers to dwindle, as well as habitat loss, but I think that's, you know, fairly standard for all animals on the planet. So you can see a lot of the tracks here.
You know where we came from, but that one that heads south to Parallel.
It's quite similar, these tracks, to hyena, but a little bit smaller, and sadly in the softer sand it's not easy to see definition, obviously, because the walls of the tracks cave in on one another. But it's a more slender track. Oh, look here, Brian, they're coming back. We're in luck. Yeah, they're popping out back on Triple M power lines, heading straight east. Awesome. Perfect morning sunlight. Look at this. Take screenshots, lots of them, please. And the good news is they are still looking hungry. And hungry wild dogs are the best kind of wild dogs, because that means they're going to keep moving, hopefully, until they find some prey. Just going to get a hold of Jamie and Brent quickly. Jamie and Brent, they're heading straight down the power lines now, east.
Okay, we're on standby. We'll turn around. We'll come back up that way.
Okay, copy. I'm going back to channel 5. Okay, so I'm just going to be chopping and changing. I think that's enough pack members for us to follow now. Yay! This is just what we want. Wild dog action! Come on, head deeper into Djuma and find some impala. That is probably their ideal prey. Impala-sized antelope or smaller. That's not to say that they cannot bring down bigger prey like wildebeest and kudu. But in this area, we mainly see them hunting impala and smaller animals. Look at this, everyone. It doesn't get better. Perfect morning sunlight. 2, 4, 5 dogs on the move. I'll just check behind to make sure none are coming from behind us. Oh, one just popped out right next to the vehicle here. Hello, welcome back. And so happy to hear that a lot of you are letting us know exactly how happy you are about this wonderful sighting. We really do love all that feedback, so keep it coming. Ben in Indiana, you interested to know if wild dogs can be habituated? And not that I know, it looks like they may be chasing something. Hold on, everyone. Yes, a kudu straight down the road in front of us. Can you believe it? A massive big kudu bull. I don't know if you saw that. Hey!
Why are you checking that one?
There's another one here, and it's just stopped looking at it. Brian's got it. But this is surely too big for them to take down. But maybe there's some females, maybe there's some young kudu. Awesome stuff. I just saw a cloud of dust bursting across the road. There's one massive kudu bull
You're going to check bushbuck dam?
headed across. And you just don't know what to expect when following these animals. It's not uncommon for them to chase leopard up trees, attack hyena that they come across. They are just full of action and energy. And look at how effortlessly they move. And they've probably been moving at this intensity since before the sun came up, and still they continue with incredible stamina. Hello to Ariel, who would like to know whether we don't see wild dogs very often, and that's because every time we do, we all get so excited. And it's a combination of things, Ariel. It's the fact that they are simply such awesome animals, and like I said a little bit earlier, their success and strike rate when hunting is so high. Let's continue. One's headed back, actually. There it goes now. Quickly, Brian, just showing you that one disappearing back in the direction they came from. Thanks, Brian. Possibly heading back towards the youngsters who are still spending a little bit of time alone. The adults will go off and hunt, leave the pups somewhere. Once they've made a kill, they may return. Oh, sorry. You'll notice how different they all look in terms of coat coloration. This one's quite light, and it's got quite a bit of yellow colorations on it. That pack have headed northeast from power lines and Parlour Road into the block. Whew. Now it's going to be tricky what to do. It's very, very thick in here. Too thick to follow wild dogs. So now we gamble. Jamie, are you guys still out and about? Copy that. Would you mind doing the power lines towards Weirtele Access, and I'll be on Parlour Road North, between those two roads. Okay, well, we try and work out what the pack are doing. Then, yeah, affirmative. As soon as we hopefully get another vision of them, we'll race you back onto the vehicle. But for now, they're going to go to probably a slightly more calm scene with James on the bushwalk.
Right, well, we're walking through a thicket here of Strychnos madagascarensis, or black monkey orange trees. Now, much in the same way as those terminalia trees or silver cluster leaves were something of an encroaching species in that clearing, so are these Strychnos trees. And this is one of the reasons I don't think that people talk about there being too many elephants around. I'm just not convinced that there are too many elephants around. I think the elephants would clear areas like this. I might be talking absolute nonsense though. Wonderful that you've had that dog sighting, and like Scott said to you, we will nip straight back to them if they re-emerge where we can view them. So what we did was we left those buffalo and now a brilliant question from Neville along the lines of what I was just saying there. You want to know how much I think elephants, or what kind of role they play in turning grassland into bush and bush into grassland. Here is a feather, a beautiful feather. I can never identify the feather. I'm going to say that's a hornbill. What do you think, Andrew? Hornbill?
Hornbill?
What do you think it is? I'm absolutely hopeless with this. The one thing is for sure though, the one thing that I cannot do as well as Scott Dyson and all of his thick hair is make this sit in the back of my head. I'm not going to try, Andrew, don't look at me like that. I'll put it in the back of my hat. Anyway, how much do elephants change the bush? Elephant, of course, are keystone species, which means that their presence or absence in an area will make a profound difference to what the bush looks like. I think elephants personally have been responsible for maintaining grasslands in lots of areas. They don't, in this particular area, what I have found is that elephants tend to change the shape of the vegetation and not necessarily the constituents. So, for example, I'll get back to you on that. The dogs are back out. Let's go quickly and have a look at them.
Copy, we're just on access now.
It's just phenomenal how quickly these animals move. They've crossed straight through the block onto Vuyatela Access Road. So we did a big loop around and got lucky to find them again. What is going on there? Mister, are you getting ready for a toilet break? It looks like it. Sorry about that. At least there's a few bushes conveniently placed between us and you. Looks like you're having a hard time, and I apologize for the hardships you are dealing with at the moment. I think we can all comprehend the discomfort. And off you go. So, looks like we're going to have to now loop back around to where we came from. Again, it's just simply too thick to try and follow them through this bush, and let's hope that whatever they may flash from this area will move out into an open clearing. But again, while we try and get you another view, we're going to send you back to James.
Blinking, 3. Right, hello everybody, look at that. Not quite a wild dog, a grasshopper of some sort. I think possibly a sort of family or genus known as the Theracles grasshoppers, known for their beautiful green colours and powerful thighs, completely unlike mine, but like Scott's, I suppose. And he's the most wonderful green colour. Now what we'll do, Andrew, if we don't mind, horribly, let's go around this side, because then we'll get a better view of his colour in the sun. Let's just check the wind, Andrew. Oh, the wind's going to be wrong for us here. The grasshopper's going to smell us, and we could be in some danger. There he is, Andrew. Be very quiet. You see him there?
Yes.
Do you want me to double tap for you, Andrew?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not going to aid Andrew with his camera work. I can't find the button. He is quite a short grasshopper, says Nikki. You got him. Now he's tiny. He's only about ½ an inch across, and I think that's why I've identified him as a Theracles grasshopper. You can see his abdomen there, full of grass. And I think they move with this motion. It's the same way that a chameleon moves, just to kind of, they almost look like they're leaves sort of wafting in the wind as opposed to walking purposefully in one direction, which I think probably puts predators off. As I say, just like a chameleon. Isn't that amazing? I'm so tempted to try and catch him, but I don't think I'm going to. We'll try and get a little bit closer. So it's only about ½ an inch across, like I say, which is about, well, I'll tell you what, I'll put my finger next to it and you can see if you can get a view. There, you can see him next to my large schnoz. Right, let's head back across to Scott Dyson. He's got the dogs. I'm just going to quickly check the wind once more. I can smell Andrew, it can't smell me. Right, let's go to the dogs and Scott. We'll see you shortly.
Well, our luck continues, and I'm going to have to show you on the GPS exactly what kind of distances we've been covering since we've been following these animals. The good news now is that, well, the good news for the wild dog and possibly the good news for some of us is that they're heading towards the quarantine clearings. If they just continue another 200 or 300 meters, they are bound to find some impala. And when they find these impala, again, I urge you guys to hold on for dear life, because we are going to put the accelerator flat to the ground in order to try and stay with them. There's guaranteed prey up ahead, and the prospects are looking much better. I'm wondering if they've worked out, and because they have been here in the past, they've done the maths, and they know that this area that they're heading into is often an area of plentiful game, and I think they may well know this. In Philadelphia, happy to hear you with us, and even happier to hear that your younger brother is joining us too. Danny, it's great to have you on board as well. Danny, you've mentioned that it's phenomenal how effortlessly these animals can move, and would like to know how long can they keep up these half-paced chases. I'm going to try to get up with the pack in front here, because I think that's where the action is going to be. So we're going to leave this individual. Danny, this kind of general trotting that we've been seeing them doing, not a high-speed chase, they can keep up for hours, and probably from the early hours of this morning they've been trotting around like this. In terms of actually chasing down prey at full speed, they can also do that up to a few kilometers. So for a couple of minutes they can be in a flat-out sprint, and what this results in is that their prey will often collapse in a heap before the wild dog even needs to actually tackle them to the ground. Oh, there's my fancy radios in the way. Come on, dogs, you guys are so close to the action. Keep going. A couple of 100 meters, and you'll be able to fill up those empty bellies of yours. So, Danny, like I say, they can move at high speeds of probably around 40 to 50 kilometers an hour for very prolonged periods of time. And it's this stamina that makes them Africa's most successful large carnivore. Their relentless speed and stamina Makes it difficult for prey to escape them. Hello to Anna Marie, and I discussed earlier, one's popped up right next to us here, that usually in this area wild dog will hunt smaller prey, duiker, steenbok, impala, but they certainly can take down bigger prey up to the size of a wildebeest. It's probably the biggest prey item that I've seen. I'm going to look back to Brent and Jamie for their thoughts. Biggest prey of a wild dog?
Adult male kudu.
Adult male kudu?
Botswana recorded taking buffalo out of it.
Wow. Well, interesting that Brent says even Botswana, it's been recorded that wild dog have even sniped younger buffalo out of buffalo herds. That I find hard to believe. So that's fascinating. So wildebeest, kudu bull, like we saw them chasing earlier, that was Zeus. Some of you may know the kudu with an incredibly wide spread of horns that they chased across the road. They didn't pursue them though, and maybe that's an example of how in this area they are spoiled for choice and will only take down bigger prey if they are desperate. You guys are going the wrong way. Don't go that way. No. All of the food is that way. They have gone that way. But there's a chance that they could bump into something anyway. Adrenaline rush. You'd like to know how these animals are kept track of without collars. Well, it's the same way as all of the animals in the Sabi Sands, really. They don't have collars. We follow their footprints and just hope to get lucky and bump into them whilst driving along these dirt roads. In some areas they, are collared for research. But I'm personally quite grateful that we don't have collars on any of the animals in this area because it makes it that much more natural. And the thrill of finding them without expecting them or knowing where they're going to be, which you do have the benefits of with a collar, again, increases the excitement levels dramatically. Looks like the heat of the morning is beginning to take its toll, and like I said, the fact that these animals would have been running around since before the sun rose, which was probably about, they probably started getting active about at least 2 hours ago.
We've got more of them coming along our line.
Sorry, Jamie, go again there, please.
We've got another 3 adults coming up along east along power lines again.
Okay, copy. Wonderful. Thank you. These guys are just heading north up Weir's access again. So awesome, Jamie's got 3 other adults coming towards us, which is good prospects. It should be about 10 or 11 adults in the Sands pack, and a kind of similar number of pups last time we checked. Gee, you were just interested to know how many adults there are exactly, and I think it's either 10 adults and 11 pups, or the other way around, or 11 adults and 9 pups was the last figure that we had. So quite a large pack, but it's important to understand that these packs can get up to 20, sometimes 30 or 40 animals. You can get some very large packs in various parts of Africa, but in general, in the Sabi Sands, no ways, look at this, we're in for some incredible action here. Elephant, Cape buffalo to the right of the elephant, and now the wild dog getting straight to the buffalo. I'm going to try and keep up a little bit to get you some good news. The buffalo won't take any nonsense, and as you can see, it stood up, was lying down, and headed straight towards the wild dog to say, we are not going to tolerate any of this behavior. The buffalo are probably going to be more relaxed in general than the elephants. The elephants are quite emotional animals and get very worked up. Buffalo are more hardcore and They only get excited if and when lions are causing trouble. But because of the smell of these wild dogs, the elephants have got a strong chance of picking up their scent. And there's a few young calves in and amongst these elephants, so you could find the mothers getting a little bit worked up. But for now, I don't think they've actually worked out what's going on. Incredible. 3 of the magnificent 7. Boom, 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 boom. Elephants, Cape buffalo, African wild dog. That is absolutely awesome. All on the same side. Hello, David Limbu. And you've asked, is it normal for them to always use the roads?
Jamie,
You have seen them majority of the time on the road simply because we've been driving along the roads. But that's not to say that, like now, and like a lot of the times when you left us to join James on the bushwalk, they were moving through the block. So, yes and no. They will use roads because it's easier to move down. It's a highway, essentially. Whereas the game trails are kind of suburban roads, you could say, with more little turns and corners and stop streets, whereas this is an open highway. So I agree with you to a degree, but don't be fooled that by when you leave our vehicle to join James, it's because the dogs are no longer on the road where we can follow them and they're moving through the block. And I'd like to try and show you on my GPS exactly what they're doing and where they're going once this chaos is all subsided.
is my first in Conzo that's coming north through that Shikobatin with a smaller coloring, but I'm not going to be following up there. It's basically fun.
Hello to Andy and Julia in LA. And you'd like to know how good is the wild dog's sense of smell? And it's probably very good, like most dogs, but it's not something they use heavily for actually hunting. They are sight hunters. They run around until they see something and then they run after it. Their ears and their nose will probably be most effective and most useful for them when actually relocating the pack. When they chase prey, they can bombshell. One impala can go this way, one impala can go that way, and the pack can split. They could each chase their own impala, really. And what that means is that they can all of a sudden be huge distances apart from one another. And morning, guys. And because of that huge distance that they can cover very, very quickly, they will obviously need to relocate with the pack, and again, their hearing and smell will be most effective for that. I'm hoping they're going to pop out here somewhere. I'm just going on their general direction of movement that we last saw them heading in. We've been incredibly lucky this morning to keep track of them for as long as we have. Anywhere here they could pop out. Thank you very much to Lucy, who's provided us with some confirmation on how many adults are and pups are in the Sands pack, which is this pack of wild dog that we're following now, and it's 11 adults and 9 pups. 11 adults, 9 pups. I was just listening to Jamie there. She's got a few more pack members on the Power Lines Road that we were driving along earlier. So I think we maybe just go back and join her with those. Copy, thanks, Jamie. I've lost the other portion now, heading north towards the northern edge of Impala Plains. 4 years, north and west. I'll head back around there. So Jamie's got some adults, 3 of them it sounds like, that have also just cut into this block where the rest of the pack are. So I I think if we just keep moving up and down here, we should eventually get lucky between either her and Brent or us on this vehicle. There's an Impala, finally. But it's quite far off. I'm not going to stop to show it to you, but there is one there. Hello, Daryl in Alaska, and you'd like to know if the pups have got names? Not likely, because not even the adults do, as far as I'm aware. And again, it's not common to name animals. The prides of lion don't usually have any names, really. They're just a certain pride. The leopards are one animal that it makes sense to name because they are solitary, and we get to know them individually. It's quite easy to keep track of them individually. But unless you are willing to basically give up huge amounts of your daylight hours to working out which dog is which and being able to know each one at a glance individually, it's going to take basically full commitment and full dedication to learn them to such a degree. And it's, like I said, it's not usually something that is done by guides. You know, if you are researching a pack of wild dogs, sure, then it makes sense, but then you're spending all day and every day with them. They usually have a radio collar on them, so you can always find them. So because we don't see them that often and can't keep track of them daily, it doesn't really make sense to study them to the degree that you'd be able to know each one by name. Now, what has this pack got up to? Who knows, they could have made a killing here somewhere and they could be gorging themselves on it. To Bia, and apologies if I've pronounced your name wrong. Bia's just 11 years old and would like to know if anyone's ever fallen off a vehicle whilst racing after wild dogs. And yes, it certainly has happened. Thankfully not off my vehicle though. I've never lost a guest off my vehicle. And thankfully the cameramen know to hold on very, very tightly. We've had a few close calls though, that I will say, and a few battered and bruised cameramen, which we owe them for. But thankfully no, it hasn't happened to me. Oh yes, we're in luck. I just saw one poking its head out here. There we go. It looks like they've all settled down right here. Perfect. And look what we found straight down the road. This is going to be a nice glimpse. James is getting comfortable on the ground there. Steph is protector, standing nearby, and Andrew doing the camera work. So happy that they're in on the action too. Who knows, imagine if the wild dog chased some prey past them on foot, it would make for some incredible shots. And like I said earlier, they have got absolutely nothing to worry about. These animals do not pose a threat to us as humans. It's interesting, the elephants are still in this area, grazing peacefully off to our right. And let's try and do a quick head count. There's 1, 2, 3 off to the right of these two. And then on the right of the road, we've got 4 and 5 over there. 6 over here, 7, 8, 9, 10 behind the radio, forgive me for that.
When he's finished.
And then 11. So I think all of the adults are here, all 11 adults, and the 9 pups must probably still be across on Arethusa, I'm guessing. So it'll be interesting to know if they're at a stage where they may leave the adults or leave the pups rather, for longer periods of time now that the pups are getting slightly bigger and learning the ways of the wild, or will they return to the pups a little bit later on this morning? Only time will tell. Apologies, Nikki was trying to give you guys a nice different angle from Andrew's camera, and evidently the camera freaked out. The wild dog are heading straight down towards him now, so you'll probably find that they're going to try and disappear out of shot, or get some good shots. Either way, I'm happy for whatever they decide to do. I would love to be in their position, a pack of wild dogs approaching on footers. Not something that happens every day. Let's hope that that camera gets fixed up, because it'll be so wonderful to get you some shots from them on foot. Oh, what a frustration. Well, we're going to carry on. And at this stage, it looks like they're going to come running straight past them. This is going to be fantastic. And what an inopportune moment for the camera to not be working. Anyway, at least one of the cameras is working, and at least the wild dogs are with us. And for the fourth and final time, they are safe. There is nothing for them to worry about. So fear not. If anything, the wild dogs are probably going to get a little bit of a fright when they catch wind of the humanoids. But now, like I said, the heat is having its toll on these animals, and they're beginning to move for shorter periods of time before having their breaks. Now these James and Andrew are literally sitting on the side of the road. They're going to be in such a cool position here. But it'd just be nice if that civilian car was not in the background of the shots. But I guess they also want to enjoy the sighting. There they go. I'm just going to stop here. The wild dogs have now seen James and Andrew. And Brian, if you don't mind getting them in. And let's just see what happens here. They may well just run meters past them. They're not going to be startled by their presence. They know that they're there. Now look at their ears now. They're just showing a little bit of curiosity. Absolutely awesome. You can hear some high-pitched chattering behind us, and that's the rest of the pack coming running past right here. There they go. Begging for regurgitations is what's going on. And have the pups, it looks like the pups have joined in. I think the pups may have, there seem to be a few smaller ones here. Look at Andrew and James, they are having the sighting of their life. Wild dogs on foot just meters away. I'm going to try and get another angle now, so we don't have that civilian car in the shot. This is remarkable, and like I said, this is a sighting of a lifetime. It is so terrible that their camera isn't working, but I think Andrew is being able to record this. Look at the smile on James's face. This is so awesome. Remarkable. The good news is Andrew is filming. You can see he's concentrating. So even though you cannot see this live, well, you can. You're just seeing it from our angle, not theirs. But there is going to be some incredible footage that Andrew is capturing now. So that's going to be a little treat for later. And what a better person to film and edit together. Well, there's no doubt going to be an incredible clip of an encounter between wild dogs, humans on foot, and like we saw, very, very little concern to our presence, and rightfully so. I mean, the wild dog in this area over many, many years have understood that humans are not a threat to them, and they can carry on their business with a little bit of concern, obviously, as they get meters away. But that was just remarkable. Absolutely fascinating. Sighting of a lifetime. You're not going to get better than that, I don't think. Hey? Awesome. Yeah, but it's a treat for later. It's a post-production treat for later. Cool guys. Morning. Hello, Kaylin. To Donna in Canada, and you'd like to know what the average life expectancy is of these animals, and I would say anywhere between kind of 8 and 10 years would be an average lifespan. Anything more than that would be unlikely out here. So quite short-lived, and compared to, I guess, the other carnivores, although, you know, lions and leopards don't live too much longer than that. Lots of sniffing around here. What's interesting is that we have had sightings of the Investec pack as well as the Sands pack in the same area, and they are the two packs that we can see. So I'm wondering if they're not smelling the old scent of either themselves or the other Investec pack that's come through. I can't keep track of which one's which and who's who. Good news is that eventually now it appears this pack may head towards the quarantine clearings where they are going to find some impala to chase. But it is getting towards what looks like the end of their action. And I guess I may be a little bit nonchalant with my emotions and understanding of the sighting that's just happened now with Andrew and James on foot. And isn't it just so remarkable, and aren't we so lucky to have all experienced that and witnessed that together live? And never in my wildest dreams did I think that was going to be happening today, as I'm sure neither did many of you. And everything happens for a reason, maybe a little blessing in disguise that we're going to be able to look at that footage that Andrew and James captured a little bit later. And you did get to see everything from our angle. So awesome, awesome stuff. And like I said to them, that is a sighting of a lifetime for them. I don't think that's probably going to happen again anytime soon. Okay, now I'm going to try and preempt what is going to happen here, because they are getting towards this big clearing where there are going to be some impala. So if I can skirt ahead of them, I'm going to, in the hope that they, well, in the realization that if in fact they do chase prey, we're not going to be able to keep up with them. So it's going to be better to be in front of them than to be behind them. Jamie and Brent are going to stay with them. Jamie, I'm just going to loop into quarantine in case there's some prey there. If you don't mind just keeping behind them. There's a dyker running off here. This dyker is possibly in trouble. The wild dogs are still a little bit further behind it, but let's keep an eye on it. So just through here, Brian, have you got it there? Well done. Here comes the dyker. It looks like it's going to sneak away. Lucky, lucky dyker. It outfoxed the wild dogs. And disastrous nonsense, you're right, those dogs are not shy at all. Okay, here's some prey. And they... Hold tight, everyone. And they don't have a reason to be, at least not in this area of Africa. This young male Inyala could be in trouble. The wild dog, I'm fairly certain, are still heading towards us. And there's also two young male impala to our left. It's just whether or not these wild dogs continue in the right trajectory to find them, and I think they're going to. So guinea fowl alarm calling as well. Maybe there's a bird of prey in the area. I'm not too sure what's unnerved
And there's Eddie's in the background there.
The guinea fowl, Brian spotted some ellies in the background. It's just all happening here. The wild dog, we're literally heading directly towards where we are. We are, the Nyala, which is just over there, is literally between us and those wild dogs where they last were. Any sign of them there, Jamie? Okay, copy. I've got visual of one there. They're behind you. Okay, here they come, Brian. Here they come. Straight through that gap by the dead tree. Have you got them? Yeah, you've got them. The Nyala is going to start running for its life, and we are in a very good position to film it. Please, can you get the guys to stay where they are, Jamie? Here comes the Nyala bounding past us, and a bit too much of a head start, but maybe the two young impala that are just beyond us are going to get a better chase. Okay, we're going to send you over to the bushwalk, which looks like that camera is working now. Everyone, we're just getting into a good spot here, and this is going to be an incredible view. The guinea fowl that's alarm calling, you just would have got a glimpse of there. Now the impala are looking directly at the wild dog. Here they come. Now maybe these young male impala aren't too sure of what wild dog are. We don't see them very often, and neither do the impala. And this is obviously going to be a good prospect for the wild dog. The wild dog may battle to see them because they're standing in the shade, which is interesting and always useful to remember when approaching dangerous game. The shade is a good place to use because it's difficult to see movement when you are moving in shadows. Where are the rest of the pack? I can't see any of them now, but they've appeared to have spread out through this clearing. There's one over to the left there, Brian, that's coming towards us. Oh, no, the ones in front are probably the best in between the impala. Oh, here go the impala. And this is a typical run that they do when wild dog are around. That's very typical. And some of you may have remembered me seeing them doing this and saying that I think they're wild dog nearby. And that is a telltale move that they will use when running away from wild dog, and not so much when running away from other prey, or other predators rather. So it's almost specifically for wild dog that I've noticed. And I guess what that does is it shows the predator that the prey is in fact in perfect working order. And we're going to quickly race you back to James.
When you got starting linking 3. Here we go, everybody. Look at that. Sorry, we've had a couple of technical glitches here, but to be with dogs on foot, with them totally unafraid of us, just not reacting. They're just following the parents now, I think, on the hunt onto quarantine clearings. There's some elephants just behind, which we are trying to avoid because the ellies are a little bit irritated. Right, as we lose visual, let's go straight back across to Scott. He's obviously with them on the hunt. This is unbelievable. We're going to continue down here and see if we can get another.
So, guys, it doesn't get much better than this. This is the fireside chat spot, which we haven't been using too much over the last few weeks, and apologies for that, but the wild dog are going to be running straight past it. Lots of impala down to our left on the opposite side of the vehicle. So again, good prospects. And wild dogs are clever. They know that there's a lot of young impalas around in bigger herds, which are easier to find good prey out of, rather than just two young males. And they are on a mission. They are still empty-bellied, and like I said, the impala are not too far away. Hello to Ava, who would like to know, how big are these animals? How much do they weigh? And they probably weigh anywhere between 10 and 15 kilos, 20 to 30 pounds. And they're probably about half the size of an Alsatian. Okay, there are some young impala just up ahead on our left, young males. And it looks like the wild dog have just seen them. That's what that one stopped and looking across at. So maybe like a border collie, slightly smaller than a border collie. They're not very big. They're very slight, built for stamina and speed. And their power comes from their numbers and again their stamina. It's not from their size. Okay, we've got some action here, They've seen an Inyala bull that they're chasing. But not too seriously. Let's see what happens. It may change, but for now, kind of haphazard. Half the pack splits up. Oh, they're going for it. They're going for it. There's one. You're still there, Brian. Sorry. There was one that was just behind these two Inyala bulls, but they gave up the chase in the end. Jumping for joy, I guess. And interestingly, one wild dog just let off its strange bark behind us. Brrr. Kind of in frustration, you could say. I want to get back to the rest of the pack, though, because the rest of the pack were in a better position to chase some impala. We're going to send you back to James quickly.
Right, there they go, everybody, just down over the slope. This is the most unbelievable thing. You're going to get Scott coming into picture now. He's going to carry on following the dogs. We're just standing here basically on quarantine, and it's all kind of happening around us. I can see the elephants down to the left, to the right-hand side of us. I'll point to where they are. We can't see them at the moment, but they've gone down through those bushes there. You can hear them shouting. We're obviously not going to try and get too close to them, and Scott is now back off with the dogs. It's just unbelievable. And thank you, Keith. It is absolutely amazing, like you say. It's just truly, absolutely astonishing. Okay, let's head back across to Scott. He's obviously a lot faster than we are at the moment. I think he's with the dogs. We're going to keep probably just standing here and see what unfolds.
Well, sadly, the pack have headed off in the wrong direction that those impala were heading in. So they've missed an opportunity there. And again, I think that because they are such successful hunters, they pick their moments wisely. And those Inyala possibly slightly too big and looking slightly too healthy. Some dwarf mongooses alarm calling. Interesting. Paula says that the impala do that specific run to release pheromones from their metatarsal glands, which are glands in at the base of their legs, and it's to confuse the prey, or the predators rather. And I think that's in general for whenever their legs are pumping, it will, and sprinting away from anything, that will happen. So I don't think it's only when they do that specific kind of run, and I don't think it's necessarily to confuse the prey, the predator. I think it's more so that they leave a trail so that they themselves can relocate their own herd once the chaos has diffused. So interesting, that theory of yours. I don't completely agree with it. once they're running away from their prey, they're not going to throw them off by leaving a different scent trail. The prey either can see them or they can't, and when they can't see them, the chase is over. It's not like predators track down their prey by sniffing them. It would take too long. So I don't agree with that. I think it makes more sense that it's the impala's mechanism of gaining contact with one another once they've lost track of the rest of the herd once they've been chased. Jamie and Brent, they continue straight down the briar side, so I'm guessing they're going to pop out somewhere in Philemon's Dip. So they're moving parallel to us here. They could pop out anywhere in front of us. Hard to say, but at least Jamie and Brent are in the area. So I think we can wait here and cover this area. Jamie?
Standing by.
I'm going to stand about halfway down Philemon's Dip, and then if you don't mind checking maybe Rebecca's that side.
Okay, copy. We had visual of them already passing through Philemon's Dip. Looks like they're going towards Rebecca.
Okay, so no surprises here. The wild dogs are ahead of us. And Jamie and Brent did get a glimpse of them. And from getting us into the sighting in the beginning, up until now, they've been playing a pivotal role in trying to keep up with the animals. So we all need to be very grateful that they are here, and isn't it wonderful that the two of them get to enjoy the sighting with just themselves, not having to think it's too much. And it is, of course, Brent's favorite animal. So they're just below us now, Jamie and Brent, and they say there's some heading towards us. So I think we can wait here. Hello, Grace Ann. And you've mentioned that the Ellies were having a little bit of an impact. And I disagree that they did get worked up, definitely, but I don't think they had any influence on the pack's movements. If anything, in general, it's a pack of dogs that will influence an elephant's behavior and it'll get elephants worked up and emotional, whereas it's the opposite for the wild dogs. The elephants are going to have very little impact on wild dogs other than giving them something to play with, because wild dogs are so light-footed and so quick and nimble. The elephant's got no chance of causing any harm to one, and the wild dogs know that. So if anything, yes, their behavior was a little bit funny, but that would be because they in fact are scared of the wild dogs. As big as they are, they don't like the fact that they can be teased and tormented. Okay, here they come. Hello to Anne, and you've mentioned that with two different feeds, giving you different angles of these animals. There's a glimpse of Brent on the tracker seat. This is better than actually being on safari, and there are huge aspects that make this experience better than actually being here in the flesh. I guess you could equate it to watching a live sports game at the stadium versus watching it at home. Often the views you're getting that you would get at the stadium. And there's Brent taking some photos. Awesome. New profile picture. Well, I never thought that we would have such an incredible morning with them. We've been with them for ages. I've lost track of time. But we have been incredibly fortunate to follow them with so much ease, relative ease, as they've covered a large distance. And I'd like to show you exactly where they've moved once we've finished. Brent is just pointing ahead excitedly. Okay, there's some Cape buffalo up ahead. I was hoping it was going to be a bit of a more bite-sized morsel for them. But who knows, maybe they'll tease and torment this Cape buffalo. Let's try and get into a spot here. But don't be fooled, the Cape buffalo does not take nonsense from anyone out here, not even the lion. And from time to time, even like I say, the lion gets showed up. Now what's interesting is that this pack is mixed. There's not all adults here. There's half adults, half pups. So I think what may have happened is that the pack may have split in two. And some of the adults with the other pups are elsewhere. Jamie, would you mind heading back to quarantine to pick up James? Try and get him into the action, yeah? So just ask Jamie and Brent if they don't mind trying to go and pick up James, just so that we can try and have another camera feed where possible, even though it has been a little bit shaky. So it looks like that's what they're going to do. Copy my message, is still there. But we should be able to stay with the pack now. It's not too thick for now. And I'd be willing to take the gamble to get James and Andrew with their other camera into the sighting in case some high intensity action unfolds, and then it's definitely going to be better to have two cameras. So I'm just going slowly, but I'm guessing they're going to pop out fairly shortly. Come on. Nearly crashed into a tree there. Okay, we're going to send you back to James just so you can get an idea of what he's up to at the moment while he waits for Jamie and Brent to head across there, and we're going to hopefully get a visual of the rest of the pack soon.
Right, we are now, everybody, going to try and get onto the vehicle with Brent and Jamie and see if we can't just, get two angles of those dogs. It's amazing to me that there are no other vehicles in that sighting. So that's what we're going to try and do. Brent and Jamie are coming up this way to fetch us, and we need to try and get there, of course, before those dogs start to go hunting again. It's starting to get quite hot. They might not carry on hunting, but they might, and it'll just be nice to get two angles. We'll probably film from the vehicle, and we probably won't be doing anything on foot anymore with those dogs. And Andy, you reckon Andrew must buy a lottery ticket because he's had Karula, the cubs, and now these wild dogs on foot. I'll tell him to buy a lottery ticket. He's normally fairly studious at ignoring any advice I give him, so we'll see what happens there. Hello. Right, here we go. Yeah, if you don't mind, yes, that will be fine. Okay, we're going to head back across to Scott. There's Jamie, and we'll see you shortly.
Okay, I've just backtracked just to make sure that the wild dogs didn't change direction, and now that we've confirmed that, I'm confident we're going to find them just up ahead here. Interestingly enough, this is very close to where we actually got the update. It was right here that we raced from, with that white-headed vulture somewhere around. And they're heading towards Treehouse Waterhole, where I pointed out that treehouse at the start of the safari. I'm guessing guessing they're all going to be milling around there. There's a small little wallow that they may actually, I can see their tracks on the road heading down here, so that's good. There's a small little mud wallow that they may be trying to cool down in. Why are they not here? This I did not expect. They have outfoxed us. Oh, here we go. Phew. They must have chased something. They've moved a large distance in the opposite direction to where they were going. So they must have found some possible prey that they chased. Or they've caught something and already eaten it. Look at all the blood on their face. They've caught something small, consumed it in the few moments that we've been gone. I'm guessing it's probably a scrub hare.
That's what this approach. I'm going to go down to the net.
That's perfect. They're on the Treehouse Dam wall at the moment. They caught something small since we last saw them. And a few of them have got bloodied mouths. Awesome. Here are the vultures that we saw earlier, and I can actually see the white-headed vulture flying in and amongst the white-backed. It's the one on the far left. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's the one that Brian's on. No, it's a different one. It's that one, the lowest one there, Brian. No, a little bit low. Sorry, you just caught it. That's the white-headed vulture. Which you can actually see from here, and also if it turns, you'll see it's got quite a lot of white. Oh, just missed it on its undercarriage, but quite a few vultures moving through this area. The wild dog are all milling around here. If there was any meat left with whatever they did catch, they would all still be there fighting over it. I'm not sure if any of you did get to see the bloody mouths of some of the individuals. Difficult while they're in the shade. Jamie, one or two of them are heading east on Treehouse Road towards Weaver's Nest. Shame it's hot today.
Copy. We're on Weaver's Nest now. I'll take Treehouse Road.
Oh wow, look at this individual's legs covered in blood. Who knows what it could have been? But at least they've had a little snack, whatever it may be. I'm guessing a scrub hare. Maybe a diker they would have taken a bit longer to finish off. What will be interesting to see is if these vultures don't catch wind of the pack and start following them. Actually, it's not uncommon in some parts of Africa for birds of prey to follow wild dogs. And even to our left here, Brian, there's a bataleur and what could be a tawny eagle circling above where those wild dogs came out of. And they could well now follow this pack with the knowledge that they are very successful hunters. Awesome stuff. Aren't we getting spoiled with all the different carnivores today? Some in the sky, some in the ground. Too good. Bravo's Yuck, you'd like me to have a guess as to how much ground they've covered since we've been trailing them. And I'd say quite easily 3 miles, quite easily, but sure. I'm just trying to do the maths in my head, and it's so difficult to work out. That's easily 3 miles, and that's just since we've been on their trail. I'm hoping is that towards the end of the safari, if these highly energetic creatures decide to have a snooze somewhere, we'll be able to finally show you exactly where we started following them and get an idea of how much crisscrossing and backwards and forwardsing they've been doing. if in fact I can actually remember the whole sequence of events. Jamie, they're about midway between the dam and Weaver's Nest now. I think some on both sides of that little drainage. I'm on Treehouse Road.
Copy. Continue south of the drainage, so we're staying north.
Affirmative, that would be perfect. See now they are panting very, very deeply, and a combination of obviously exertion, but the heat is immense. It is getting extremely hot and humid, and I'd say that it's probably approaching, even now, this early in the morning, a high 20 degrees Celsius mark, which would put you, I think, roughly into the 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It is beginning to cook. 26 degrees Celsius and 79 degrees Fahrenheit is the alleged temperature. I'd be willing to say the weatherman's not entirely correct, and it's a bit warmer than that. But maybe that is just me and my thermometer. Brian, it is getting warm, eh?
It's hot. Very hot.
And it looks like now maybe an opportunity for me to try and show you where these animals have been moving, but let's just see what happens next first. Hello to Annie in Durban, and you're still trying to understand.
I'm just coming just close to the junction of Savage's Track and Nest, the northern side of the range.
Sorry, Annie, it sounds like they have caught something, and this part of the pack doesn't know about it. Okay, copy, I got your visual there. And we're going to send you across onto their vehicle who are closer to the action. Apologies everyone, I've got no sound and I had a stick in my mouth, so you almost had no sound from me, but we will be there very, very shortly, so fear not. Watch out for branches, everyone. Annie and Durban, I'm going to get back to you as soon as I'm in position here. Here's the tawny eagle. Oh, please land there. It almost landed so close to us. It's the remains of a steenbok that all the birds are interested in. And there we go. There's the head of the steenbok. And it's a male, a fully grown male, but you can tell how small its head is, that they're not very large antelope. And look at this. Battler has just landed on the scene. It's a juvenile battler. Well done there, Brian. Great camera work. And this is just an incredible show of how effective nature is. Within minutes of this kill being made, the battler is here. And it's got a little bluish tinge to its beak, which will, when it becomes older, will become red. When I mean older, it's around 8 years of age that they get the adult plumage, but there is a blue sheen. And it's keeping a close eye out, as was that tawny eagle, for any little scraps that may be left by the wild dog. I'm just going to try and reposition quickly, get us a better view of the dogs and whatever they're chewing on here. What a morning, everyone. It's been remarkable that we've managed to stay with this pack for so long, and eventually they have succeeded in the kill. Like I said earlier, the chances of us being in the right place to capture the takedown is slim, And well done to Jamie and James and Brent and Andrew and Steph, who are all on the other vehicle, for finding these remains. I think that the other pack members are aware of what's happened, but because they know that there's not much food, that it's not actually worth fighting over the scraps for. The scraps, of course, that the Battalier are more than happy to wait for. And let's see if we can't get you a shot of it. Look, it's peering down at us here at a very funny angle. How cool is this? Too good to be true, everyone. Too good to be true. Now, Annie in Durban, I have forgotten your question with all the excitement, but I'm sure I'll be reminded of it shortly. If man is the apex predator by day, is that why the dogs weren't aggressive and anxious towards James and Andrew on foot? And Annie, I don't think we are the apex predator anymore. We used to be, but now we are spectators, and we have been spectators, and we have never been hunting in this area, and these dogs have not been exposed to us as hunters in all likelihood their entire life. So I don't think that that's the right angle to be approaching when working out why they are not concerned or perturbed by our presence on foot. And like I said before, it's more the fact that for many, many years, the Greater Kruger National Park and the Sabi Sands, which we're in now, has been a photographic safari destination where, yes, people do spend time on foot looking for these animals, a lot of the time on the vehicles as well, and they have become used to us as being non-threatening, non-aggressive. And it's this gentle habituation that's provided us with the viewings that we get today. And it's the same for wild dog, lion, leopard. None of them run from us to a huge degree while they see us, especially in the case with James and Andrew. They were in a set position, clearly visible to the wild dogs, from a long distance before the wild dogs got to them. If James and Andrew had been hiding in a bush, and those wild dogs came running down that road just as they did, they would have got a big fright, not expecting the humans on foot, not knowing them to be there, and then probably would have run off. But I don't think it's the fact that we are apex predators by day that causes them to react the way they did. I think that's many, many years ago that was the case. So good news is we're going to send you across to Jamie and Brent and Stefan and James and everyone else on the other vehicle for a different angle.
Right, we're not sitting far from Scott. He's just over there, and we've got a wonderful view of the dogs here. Here come the others, Andrew. They're the others behind us there. Wonderful view of them sort of chewing the hapless Steenbok skull. At least it was an adult, got to full fruition of its life. And now look at these beautiful dogs just behind us. Isn't that fantastic? That is just amazing. And Paul Rizzo, while we're watching this dog, the pack sort of reuniting here, we want to know what it felt like for us to have those dogs so close to us on foot at ground view. It was absolutely astounding. I think for both Andrew and I, it was probably our best animal experience on foot. Hey, Andrew? Definitely. Andrew says definitely. And I mean, Steffi wasn't too far behind. He was actually just behind a termite mound, so he was even better hidden than we were. And the dogs, I think, probably got slightly closer to him even than they did to us. But then afterwards, to have the Nyala pronking or speeding across the plains there with the elephants just and the dogs next to them, that was just unbelievable. Certainly my top experience of. And you know, I know there have been a lot of questions. I've just been listening to Scott answer the question to Annie about, you know, about predators and whether they were afraid of us and we were afraid of them. There was a complete sense for me of a lack of threat. I didn't for 1 second feel threatened. And Andrew said to me, he said, well, what are they going to do? And I said, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see. I thought they'd go off into the bush and really skirt around us, but to have them come that close was just incredible. And the camera, for some reason, didn't allow us to film them. And I mean, the point of that being, many will scoff at this, but it meant that we couldn't concentrate on presenting. We actually had to just appreciate the incredible experience of being on foot with those dogs, and it truly was unbelievable. Anyway, here we are again with the dogs. We're sitting on the Mahindra, Jamie driving, Brent pointing at things, and there we've got, I think Brent is pointing out that pale form tawny eagle that we had earlier on, which is just a spectacular looking bird. Can you see it, Andrew? It's right there in front of the apple leaf in front of us. Andrew's looking a bit confused. He's a bit dazed by the astonishing sighting that we've had today. Can you see it, Andrew? There he is. That's a pale form tawny eagle. And just before we got in here, there was a great plethora of what I described as scavenging AV fauna around. There was a juvenile battered deer that you saw. There was this tawny. There were a whole lot of vultures, including a white-headed vulture, which is quite unusual for the area. But I don't believe that they were circling here. I think these two are obviously here because of this meet, but I think those vultures just coincidentally went into the sky. It's got to the stage where the thermals will start to rise off the ground. That's interesting. Siberia, you want to know, we talk a lot about the stink of these wild dogs, and you want to know how did it smell being so close to them. I don't recall actually smelling them at all. Andrew, do you?
I smelled them a bit.
Andrew smelled them. I don't think I was concentrating enough on the smell to know, to be honest. But I can certainly smell them where we're sitting now. We're sitting about 20 feet from them. 20 meters from them, so about 60 feet. And I can smell them now, that very kind of strong, wet doggy smell, which is pretty offensive in your lounge, but very pleasant out here in the wild, because it does signify, of course, Africa's second most endangered carnivore. Wow. And just like I say, we are so lucky that there are no other vehicles in the sighting other than Scott, so we're able to spend as much time as we like with them and just really enjoy them. I've moved off the front of the vehicle because it was deeply uncomfortable. This is not much more comfortable, but I don't want to frighten them, so I'm not going to move anywhere from where I am now. I have a pole digging into me rear end at the moment. Nikki says I look like a supermodel. Well, she's the only person who's ever described me like that. Michael, very nice biological inquiry. What allows the dogs to have the exceptional endurance that they have? It's a build. I think, they're very light. So if we think of something like a leopard, which is built very explosively, they're built like I'm going to liken it to human beings. So a top sprinter is a heavy human being, often sort of in excess of 80 kilograms or 90 kilograms, sometimes tall, but very well muscled all over. Big thighs, big legs. So if you think of the build of Usain Bolt, although he's lean, he's very muscly, but he can't keep going for longer than 400 meters or so. If you think of a marathon runner, more slightly built, much shorter, much less obvious power. And it's the same in the animal kingdom. You think of a leopard, it's got a lot of power, a lot of fast twitch red muscle fiber. A dog is much slighter, much lighter on its feet, much more white muscle or slow twitch or white muscle fiber, and that allows them to run much bigger distances. And that's the basic reason for why, what the physiology is around allowing them to run the distances that they do. It's interesting to me, though, and this is what I don't really understand, is that they obviously, the diet of a leopard and a wild dog is very similar. But I suspect that one of the reasons that the dogs have to eat so often, so normally twice a day, is that the offal and the organs of animals contain a lot of fat, and that is the only way that animals like this that don't eat carbohydrates can generate energy for these long chases that they have. And I think you'll find that those are the first things that will be eaten when a dog makes a kill. So Michael, I hope that answers your question. Let's head across to Scott. He's roughly 60 feet from me as well, and get his angle of the secondary pack that isn't feeding.
Well, finally, it looks like the pack have decided to settle down. And isn't it wonderful that we've had two vehicles, or two feeds at least, giving you different angles of this sighting. I'm told that it looks like the one youngster is still trying to do its best to chew on the skull of that steenbok, and it's always quite amusing with wild dog how they carry around the skulls of their prey almost like a trophy. I think, though, for now, the pack are going to settle down. They may think about heading off for a drink a little bit later, but it's hard to be certain what they are going to do. Hi there, Michelle in Michigan. Are you interested to know what kind of noises will the wild dogs make? Do they perhaps howl like wolves at night? And no, Michelle, they're typically fairly silent at night time. It's because they're predominantly diurnal hunters, so they're daytime hunters, and will sometimes move around after dark, but only for a couple of hours. It's not their main hours of movement like the lion and leopard and the hyena of this area. So it would be during the day that you'd typically hear them vocalizing. And they've got an array of different vocalizations. High-pitched chattering, which is for close communications amongst the pack when they are nearby to one another. Often they've chirp excitedly as they wake up before they're going hunting, or when they're begging other adults or other members of the pack to regurgitate meat for one another, and they do that. And we heard that high-pitched chattering a little bit earlier, just before they approached James and Andrew on foot. Some of you may remember that. They've also got a kind of dog-like bark that they will let out when they're a little bit kind of frightened or afraid, or they get a fright. They let off this kind of dog-like bark, and then they've got a very strange kind of...
Coffee, any updates?
It's kind of like a howl, almost like an ambulance kind of siren making, wow, 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 which is their long-distance contact call. And I'm terrible at imitating it, so please don't use that imitation I've just done as your reference. But it's a similar kind of sound, almost like a howl, you could say. But I haven't heard that call very often, so I sadly cannot give you too much insight into it. But it's usually when pack members are trying to relocate with other members, they'll let out this loud whooping howl. So there's one or two members of the pack that have found some shade further afield from the rest, and are they going to keep moving after this little breather? It looks like they may just. Hard to believe after all the movement they have been undergoing, but it looks like slowly, one by one, they are thinking about their next moves. And I think now that things have calmed down with the pack, it's not a bad idea at all that James heads off to see what else he can find. For the last few minutes, I think there's reports of a herd of elephants at the Djuma waterhole, and after the neglect that the elephants have felt, with our cameras only waving over them for brief glimpses, maybe we owe the elephants some camera time as well. Just going to squeeze in with the rest of the pack here. Hello to Heidi, who's who's watching in Las Vegas. And you'd like to know now that there's a kind of large amounts of us on the ground. Are we getting some time off when we're not behind the camera or in front of the camera? And yes, some of us are getting some time off, but Jamie and Brent essentially were off this morning, but they came out tracking, so they are working, and we all work quite hard while we're out here. There's not much else to do. We can't really go and watch a movie, so we all tend to work quite hard while we are here. But if we do have the odd afternoon off or morning off, we tend to try and share that equally amongst everyone. The cameramen, for example, are in for a hard stint now until the new cameraman joins us. I think on the 14th there's a new cameraman coming, yeah, according to Brian. So I've offered to, you know, go on camera one afternoon, maybe to give Andrew or Brian a break. So it's always ever fluctuating, ever changing, and even though we try our best to have set structured leave cycles, because of the Nat Geo TV broadcast, they always throw our kind of weekly plans off kilter, and that causes rifts and leave, and sometimes we're short-staffed, sometimes we're overstaffed. But it's always good fun being out here, and I think our team has got a great work ethic. It can be some long hours and long days out here, but obviously we all love what we're doing, and that helps fundamentally in getting up every morning. That is a trophy Steenbok male. He's got very, very big horns, so don't be fooled by the size, like I said earlier. A fully grown male in his prime, and I guess not so bad then that, you know, he's had his time to shine, he's had a good life out here, and now some space has been made for some younger Steenbok to do their thing. And obviously also it's imperative that the wild dogs get their breakfast, otherwise they too are going to be in trouble. So these to me look like they are all pups. They are all youngsters, 2, 4, 6. The rest, which I cannot see now, and I'm told they're around where James is, but they're moving off now, are all the adults. And a white-backed vulture's just flown in onto the scene there. This is a good reason why they do not land in trees with leaves. Look at how unglamorous that is. Not that you can see much, but it was not the most graceful of landings. And that's because it chose a very tricky airstrip to land in. It's still battling to get its balance, but it's the risk, I guess, it took because it wanted to get close in on this action. And there's not many dead trees readily available for it to land in, so that was a white-backed vulture that decided to swoop in and wait patiently for any remains. So, as I was saying, though, interesting stuff. I'm not too sure. I wonder if James can maybe try and count how many adults are there and then confirm if it is in fact adults. And in that way we can keep track of these pups. Jamie or James, did you get a head count on how many dogs were there? And if so, if you think they were all adults? And the reason why we need to keep track of this is because it'll be hugely interesting if the pack has split up.
So yeah, I think they were all adults. It looks like about 5 or 6.
Okay, copy that, thanks. It looks like all pups here, and yeah, just 6 of them. So possibly the rest of the pack are still on Arethusa.
Scott, and I've been absolutely correct that I think the pack has now dropped its number down to about 15 or so.
Okay, copy that. Thank you. So both adults and pups have been lost.
That's affirmative. I'll try and double check later.
Okay, copy. Thanks, Jamie. So it sounds like there's some bad news, everyone. And I was hoping that this pack would merely have split up, and that's why there's not nearly as many individuals as normal. But it appears like Jamie may have got an update. She just needs to clarify exactly what went on in the numbers that are remaining in this pack. But it's gone from an update, I can't remember who helped us out with that, but thank you, earlier, saying 11 adults and 9 pups. Now it looks like 5 or 6 adults with Jamie and 6 pups here. So the pack is almost halved in size, and that could have been just from one bad day. The pack could have run into a pride of lion where a few dogs could have been killed, or I'm hoping what may have happened is there could have been some kind of a dispersal. The pack may have split up. That does happen, but I fear that the more realistic turn of events has been that the pack have come unstuck and lost a few members to, in all likelihood, lion. We will be sure to keep you updated as soon as we get any confirmation as to what happened and where. Hi there, Pam Shirley. You would like to know what happens when the females come into season in and around May every year, which is when they come into season generally, and when they start denning here in the northeastern corner of South Africa. It will vary depending on where you go. And Pam, no, the female will not move away from her pack in order to find another male. She will mate with the alpha male within this pack. And obviously over the years, the position of alpha female and alpha male will change. And what's important to understand is that not only the alpha female will be allowed to mate, depending on the pack and the circumstances, sometimes the beta female will also be able to mate. And I think that happened with this pack. They weren't denning with us, but I'm fairly certain that this pack had 2 different females that mated and subsequently gave birth. But I stand to be corrected there, but it's not uncommon for that to happen. And how they get new genes coming in, Pam, which is obviously where you're going with this, is, you know, every couple of years, males will split up from a pack and rejoin. It's called the dispersal pack. They may join. Here's the chattering and begging. Let's see if they don't do it again. Here we go. Little bit of a tug of war going on, and Steenbuck's head perfectly framed there. And interesting that they've waited this long to decide to have the tug of war over what remains. Don't want to be... Oh, they got a big fright. Well done, Brian. Incredibly quick on the camera there. To be honest, I got a bit of a fright myself. Everything was so stable and relaxed. Here's the more chattering and cheeping. And interesting how amongst these pups already, this young boy looks like he's managed to establish dominance over the rest of them. And that's why they're not putting up too much of a fight trying to get the remains away. What's interesting is that it's not all pups. There's one adult amongst them, and it's a female. And she's the one on the far right standing up. You can see she's got very raggedy ears, a telltale sign of her age. And also her teeth are a little bit blunt. Look at that. I mean, they're still sharp, but not nearly as razor sharp as the younger pups. So one adult is staying by with them. Who knows if it's the babysitter or their mother? I certainly don't. Brian, just by this kind of fallen down branch over there, there's a bit of a rib cage remaining. I think it's just over there. Should be interesting to give people an idea of how small the carcass is. And also to give people an idea of what the vultures and the birds of prey are waiting for. There's a little rack of ribs there on the cards for somebody. Well, it is with a huge smile on my face and with great elation that I know a good friend of mine and fellow guide, Nick Podders Podmore, has been joining us on the safari. Podders, I'm so happy to hear you've been watching. Next time you must let us know sooner in on the chase, and I hope you've enjoyed what's been an epic morning chasing these wild dogs around. Good luck with work today. Okay. Brian says there's one that's it's literally lying up against the wheel. What I'm going to try and do is, Brian, I'm going to film it with my camera, with my cell phone, and you'll be able to film my cell phone. Possibly. Oh no, it's not going to be easy. Are you going to get that angle? Is it too much of an angle?
Can you block the glare a little?
Yeah, there we go. It's literally lying against the wheel of the car. Maybe that'll be a bit better. Let me try and block the gap properly. One more second. There we go. Got it there.
Yeah, well done. Keep it there.
So you can see the massive tire of the car. There's another one that's just arrived. Looking up at my phone. Okay, well, strange views. Worth the photo quickly, actually. There we go. And good testament again to how relaxed these animals are with us. And over many, many years of us being here, driving around with them, never harming them, never feeding them, just being this kind of neutral entity in and amongst them, a spectator, this is the result we get. Completely relaxed with our presence, both in the vehicle and, as you saw earlier, on foot with James. Awesome stuff. Speaking of James, let's go and see if he's having any luck with the elephant at the Djuma Waterhole.
Right, everybody, so we've just come into where there was a herd of elephants, kindly spotted by Zumi, having a drink at the Djuma Dam pan, and they seem to have found themselves an ideal spot of dust in here, and maybe a bit of mud, and they're throwing it on their bodies to try and make sure that they remain relatively cool in the heat of this day. There is also a buffalo knocking about in here. There we go, she's just looking at us. We're not too close by, and there seems to be a bull in there as well, big bull. We don't have a great view, of course. If the focus does go every so often, that's because I'm on camera. Andrew has no view from where he is. Do you, Andrew? Yeah. There we go, there's some dust there. Nikki's just understood. She was about to shout at Andrew for being incompetent, but it's in fact entirely me. Okay, I'm going to try and hand over to Andrew. There we go, Andrew. Right, now Nelly, aka Neville, you asked a question earlier about elephants and their role and their as a sort of keystone species out here, and how they change the makeup of vegetation from grassland to forest. And I mean, I was going to give one answer, and I mean my answer is the same, but Steph and I then discussed it as we were walking along, and I think you'll find that they would change an area profoundly. I think at the moment, with the number of elephants that there are here, they don't tend to change necessarily the species makeup so much as they do the structure. So I know in one of the areas I used to work, there's a lot of what we call Mapani felt, and that Mapani just used to be sort of instead of being mature, thick pani, it was much more scrubby because the elephants used to break it off at a certain level. And you can see where I'm sitting now. But I think, as Steph was saying, that at one stage there were probably about 25 million elephants on the African continent. Now, I mean, there's nothing like that number at the moment. So yes, I think they would have profoundly altered the state of the vegetation. And this is why when people tell me there are too many elephants in the Kruger or there are too many elephants here and there, I struggle to sort of accept it, because I don't think we truly understand how many elephants there ever were. And so yes, in a long roundabout way, Nelly, aka Neville, there definitely is a profound effect that elephants have on the vegetation, and I do think that they would create a far more open vegetation type were they left to their own devices. Is that a southern boo-boo? So that's a big bull there. That's a big bull shaking his head. Deborah, armchair traveller in New York City, you want to know if playing music to elephants would result in them reacting in any kind of a unusual way. Would they react in a positive, or would they respond to the music in any way? They might. I suspect it would not be particularly a favourable response. Maybe soft singing would result in them coming, relaxing, and maybe the youngsters going to sleep. I'm not sure. I've never tried it. I'm not sure that I'm going to. I think far more, I mean, rather than, sort of completely unfacetiously, I think far more than the kind of song that was sung to them, they would pick up a tone of voice. They'd pick up a sort of attitude. And so were you to come and sing them Enter Sandman by Metallica, I think you might find that they would either run away or run towards you at quite a speed. Were you to come and sing them a lilting Paul Robeson spiritual, I think they'd probably quite appreciate it.
They like the violin.
Apparently they like the violin. I don't know why Andrew thinks that. All right, Scott has got a beautiful view of that pale morph tawny eagle. Let's go across to him.
Look at how awesome this tawny eagle is. In perfect morning sunlight, its talons displayed on that little dead knobthorn tree, and it's scanning the ground, hoping to see a scrap. Just going to chat with Taxon quickly. Tax, yeah, it is the Sands pack, but it looks like there's only 5 pups remaining and maybe 6 or 7 adults. So they've had some problems. Here it goes, straight towards us. Look at this. This is incredible. Well done, Brian. Absolutely ridiculous. That shot is going to be on the next show reel, I think. Well done. That was so cool. And what a magnificent bird to have flying directly down the barrel towards us. I think the vulture's still off in the marula tree beyond the tawny eagle now to the right. And interestingly, the tawny eagle was sitting in that very same apple leaf tree when you were looking at it with James a bit earlier. So it likes that perch. And now it's just going to have to wait patiently for the wild dogs to move. I can't see, I'm not sure if you guys can see the vulture in there. It does look like it is in there. Yeah, it is in there. Well done, Brian. Directly in the center of the screen, you can see a kind of solid blob, and there's a head bobbling around from side to side every now and then. Let me see if I can't... Well, we've got a little treat lined up for all of you. It's not very often that we drop a little slow motion clip into the live safaris, but for very special scenes and moments, it happens. And you guys are about to be taken on a slow motion flight of the tawny eagle. Enjoy. Well, Brian, I think you deserve a high five for that
Thank you,
little
Scott.
piece of camera work. I cannot wait to get to the final control room and have a look for ourselves, because that slow-mo sounded too good to be true. So I hope you enjoyed that, and like I said, it's not something that we do very often. Okay, jeez, what is going to happen next this morning? I think I'm going to need the local vet to give me a tranquilizer to come down after all this excitement. Looks like the one young male pup is still enjoying his little trophy, the skull of the steenbok. What I would like to do, and maybe I think you guys might want to come along with us for this little mission, is to work out exactly how many adults are in the pack. It's going to be very useful for us to tell Grant, the person who keeps track and monitors the wild dogs of the Kruger National Park and surroundings very closely, and it would be very useful for us just to keep them up to date with the current pack size. So we've got 5 pups here and 1 adult female. I'm not too sure where the 5th pup has gone. It's just behind us. So we're going to move around, go forward, and then go around and count the adults. But we'll call you when we get to the adults, and you're going to go back to James with the elephants now.
3. So 3 young elephant bulls having a drink here, away obviously from the rest of the herd, and they have gone straight to the clean water that is being pumped into this pan, and that's obviously because it's clean and free of the dung, urine and possibly vomit of Peter, who has fouled the water of this pan, and they're enjoying the fresh water that is being pumped out of that little pipe there. And if you listen well, you won't be able to hear too much, because we're only on the lapel mic. We're on foot. Well, we were on foot obviously, but you can hear the tremendous sound of them sucking and sucking and sucking huge volumes of water up into their noses. Very glad I don't have to drink like that. I guess it doesn't feel to an elephant like it does when you get liquid in your nose. There, you might be able to hear that. Not sure if you can hear that or not. I'll take my microphone off and point it in that direction. I don't think it'll make a huge difference. No. Anyway, they're sucking water into their trunks and obviously then spraying it into their mouths. Some elephants will drink, I mean, if they swim, they will drink straight into their mouths, but obviously here that's not possible. Hello Christopher, while we watch these elephants drinking, you're in Arizona and you want to know if we've ever found any artifacts while walking, human-made artifacts. This place is certainly, it's an area that did have quite a lot of prehistoric human habitation. Largely the Sand people were in the area, and they're kind of Stone Age people, so you do find the odd flint or spearhead or axe head or cutting stone. I think you'll find a lot of those, however, are just kind of naturally shaped like that and get kind of passed off as artifacts. But yes, they are. We do find those sorts of things around. Then, of course, in the Kruger Park, north of the Kruger Park, was a fairly developed settlement called Tulamela, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, was active around 1400, somewhere around there. In fact, it may have been as early as 900. One at Mapungubwe, I think, was probably around 900 AD, and I think Tulamela was around 1400. So that was quite a settlement that was in this particular area. Remember, though, that I don't think that this area has ever carried a tremendous number of sedentary people because of the disease. And so, and up until 1898, when the rinderpest came rocking through here, trypanosomiasis, or sleeping sickness, was a major issue in the area, and obviously malaria has always been a problem, and so that's one of the major reasons that there haven't ever been enormous human habitation in this area, and why we don't get enormous numbers of artifacts. You do find also the odd clay pot in a termite mound, which we think are used for burial, and that's quite interesting, but those are more recent. Those are kind of probably within the last 150 to 200 years. Nice question. Thank you, Christopher. Hello, Zoomy. The Zoomy seems to be filming us. Jamie, sit up straight.
If my head ducked out,
Yeah.
stay out of shots.
You can see Steph is still prepared for his bushwalk. If you happen to be watching the the damn camera. I think, just one more note on these bulls. I think that bull to the left-hand side, the closest one, Andrew, stop being a clown. He's got pretty big tusks for his size. I think you'll find that when he's a big old bull of about 50 years, he's going to be a very substantially tusked fellow indeed. But this is a small gang of sort of young adults. Just staying within sort of probably audio contact with the rest of the herd, and lovely to see their heads together like that. So they won't be quite comfortable enough to go off on their own just yet. So they'll stay in vague contact with that herd, but they'll be more confident as they walk around on their own. At least as they walk around in a group of 3. Good grief. Right, Maggie in Australia, you say that your critter list has hit 300 as a result of the flea beetle we saw today. Well, Maggie, that's fantastic. And you say I also gave you number 200, which is excellent news indeed, because I allowed you to keep the dead honey badger as a honey badger sighting. Well, that was very kind of me, I have to say. We are now going to go back to Scott for the last few minutes of the drive. So thank you very much for your questions and comments during the course of the drive. Thank you, Andrew, for your sterling work on foot today. You're a difficult chap, but you know, I put up with you. Thank you to Steph, of course, Jamie for picking us up. Brent's gone off to cook some breakfast, I think, and Nikki and Kirsty in the final control. Jerry, I'm not sure who's there actually. We will chat to you later this afternoon. No, it'll be the Lovers Drive this afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Until then, stay safe.
So we've got into a spot where we can count what looks like all of the adults, and there's 2 on the road over here, boom, and a third just above them, 4 and 5 lying just beyond that, touching one another, 6 and 7 just beyond that. So it looks like it could be 7 adults here, plus the one that's returning. Look here, the rest are returning. So here's the 8th adult, which means that they've possibly 3 adults are no longer in this pack. There used to be 11, and 4 pups are possibly missing. This could be awesome. Let's get the audio up. Fascinating is this?
Yeah, guys, I'm enjoying it over there.
Yes, of course, Tex. Isn't this awesome? The mouthing and kissing and begging between the young pups and the adults. And what a fitting way to finish what has been a remarkable morning with this pack. Obviously sad news that they've lost a few pack members, but you know, that is life for a pack of wild dogs. It's not an easy thing surviving in such a predator dense area with all the threats of lion and leopard around them, as well as hyena, of course. Anyway, what fun it's been. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the safari this morning, for sending through all your questions, comments, and for being involved and sharing the memories and experiences of what will definitely be an unforgettable safari. Brian,
Thank you, Scott.
incredible camera work. He's going to have a bruised bottom after being bounced around all morning, but I think it's worth it for that shot you got of the Tawny Eagle at the end. Thanks to the girls in Final Control. You guys did a great job. We'll see you all on the next safari.